Europe is in trouble, and most people don't even realize it. Behind the glittering skylines and global influence, six deadly forces are quietly destroying the continent's economic strength, and if nothing changes, the consequences could affect every single person, not just in Europe, but around the world. In the next few minutes, we're going to reveal exactly what's happening, why it matters, and how these hidden dangers are reshaping the future of Europe forever. Stick around, because what you're about to hear isn't just numbers. It's a wake-up call. Europe has long been seen as a global powerhouse, rich in history, culture, and industry. But beneath the surface, cracks are forming that threaten its economic future. From an aging population and skyrocketing debt to energy crises and technological lag, the challenges are real, urgent, and interconnected. In this video, we're diving deep into the six deadly factors silently eroding Europe's economic strength and what it means for millions of people today and tomorrow. By the end, you'll understand not just the problems, but why Europe's next moves could shape the global economy for decades to come. Europe has long been seen as a powerhouse of global economic strength, with its rich history, technological innovation, and industrial might. But beneath the surface of glittering cities and global influence, cracks are beginning to show. Today, Europe faces a series of challenges that threaten not only its economic stability, but also its role on the world stage. These aren't small hurdles that can be ignored. They are systemic issues, interconnected and compounding, quietly eroding Europe's ability to maintain its economic strength. Let's dive deep into the six deadly factors that are silently reshaping the continent's financial landscape. The first factor is demographic decline. Europe is aging faster than almost any other region in the world. Countries like Italy, Germany, and Spain face shrinking populations due to low birth rates and increasing life expectancy. While an older population may seem like a testament to better healthcare, it also brings heavy economic costs. Pension systems strain under the weight of retirees, healthcare demand skyrockets, and the shrinking workforce limits productivity and innovation. For every retiree, fewer workers are available to fund pensions, taxes, and social programs. This demographic imbalance slows economic growth, discourages investment, and creates long-term structural weaknesses that are hard to reverse. The European Union has tried to mitigate this with immigration policies, but political tensions and social resistance in several member states have made large-scale immigration reforms a tricky and often unpopular solution. The second factor is the staggering public debt across much of Europe. Countries like Italy and Greece are no strangers to high debt-to-GDP ratios, but even traditionally stable nations have seen debt rise sharply following the pandemic and costly energy crisis. Servicing this debt consumes massive portions of national budgets, leaving less room for investment in infrastructure, education, or technological development. High debt also increases vulnerability to global financial shocks. When interest rates rise, governments must divert even more money to pay creditors, creating a cycle of austerity that stifles growth. Investors often view such indebted economies as risky, which further limits capital inflows and drives up borrowing costs. Without decisive fiscal reforms, Europe risks entering a period where economic policy is dominated more by debt management than by genuine growth strategies. The third factor is energy insecurity. Europe's dependence on imported energy, particularly from geopolitically unstable regions, has long been a vulnerability. The recent energy crisis has shown just how exposed the continent can be to global price shocks. Industries, households, and governments alike face rising costs, which ripple through the economy, reducing competitiveness and consumer spending power. Although renewable energy initiatives are growing, the transition has been slower than hoped, and the need for reliable energy remains critical. The energy crunch isn't just a financial issue. It threatens industrial output, export competitiveness, and even social stability, especially as energy costs disproportionately affect lower-income households. Without a comprehensive and resilient energy strategy, Europe risks hampering its industrial backbone and leaving the economy at the mercy of global energy markets. The fourth factor is bureaucratic stagnation and regulatory hurdles. Europe is often praised for its governance and rule of law, but excessive red tape has created barriers for business innovation and expansion. Startups and small businesses face complex regulations, high compliance costs, and fragmented markets due to differing laws across member states. This stifles entrepreneurship and slows the pace at which new technologies and industries can flourish. While the EU aims for a unified market, in practice, regulatory fragmentation often makes Europe less nimble compared to regions like the United States or East Asia. Bureaucracy not only discourages domestic innovation, but also deters foreign investment, further weakening the economic dynamism that Europe once led globally. The fifth factor is geopolitical instability and trade vulnerability. Europe is not isolated from global conflicts or economic tensions. The continent relies heavily on international trade for growth, with supply chains often spanning multiple continents. Disruptions, from sanctions, wars, or even political disagreements, can quickly send shockwaves through European markets. The recent tensions between Russia and Ukraine, for example, sent energy and food prices soaring, exposing the fragility of Europe's reliance on global markets for essential resources. Beyond immediate crisis, Europe must also navigate competition from rising economies in Asia and a shifting global order that increasingly challenges its influence in trade negotiations. A continent that once seemed economically insulated now faces constant pressure from global dynamics, leaving it more exposed than many realize. Finally, the sixth deadly factor is technological lag and underinvestment in innovation. Europe has produced some of the world's most iconic technologies and companies, but in recent decades, it has struggled to keep pace with the innovation speed of the United States, China, and even emerging economies in Asia. Investment in research and development, particularly in high-tech sectors, has often lagged behind, and regulatory caution sometimes slows the deployment of new technologies. This creates a risk that Europe will miss out on the next wave of industrial revolutions. From AI to green tech, ceding economic ground to more agile competitors. Innovation drives productivity, efficiency, and competitiveness, and without a strong push in this area, Europe could face long-term stagnation despite its wealth and institutional strength. Taken together, these six factors – demographic decline, public debt, energy insecurity, bureaucratic stagnation, geopolitical vulnerability, and technological lag – form a perfect storm that threatens Europe's economic future. They are interconnected. An aging population increases social spending, worsening debt. Debt limits investment in innovation. Reliance on energy imports magnifies geopolitical risks. Bureaucratic hurdles slow technological adoption. Addressing any one factor in isolation may bring temporary relief, but without comprehensive, coordinated policy responses, Europe risks gradual erosion of its economic power. Despite these challenges, there is still hope. Europe has immense resources, human capital, and institutional experience to adapt. Strategic investments in renewable energy, targeted immigration reform, regulatory simplification, and innovation funding could stabilize and even strengthen economic foundations. But action must be bold and urgent. Incremental steps alone are unlikely to overcome the scale of these challenges. European leaders face the difficult task of balancing immediate economic pressures with long-term structural reforms. A task made more complex by political fragmentation and differing priorities among member states. For ordinary citizens, the implications are tangible. Slower economic growth affects wages, job security, and social services. Rising energy and living costs put pressure on households. Younger generations face uncertain prospects as pensions and social support systems come under strain. Without proactive policies, the dream of a prosperous, stable Europe may become increasingly difficult to achieve. The story of Europe's economic future is not yet written. While the threats are significant, the potential for renewal exists. Lessons from history show that crisis can spur innovation and reform, and Europe has repeatedly reinvented itself in the past. The challenge lies in recognizing the severity of the problems, understanding their interconnections, and committing to decisive, forward-looking solutions. If Europe fails to act, the consequences will ripple across the globe, affecting trade, finance, and political stability. But if it rises to the occasion, the continent could emerge stronger, more resilient, and ready to compete in an increasingly complex world. The 6 deadly factors destroying Europe's economic strength are a stark reminder that wealth and influence are never guaranteed. Economic power requires constant adaptation, strategic foresight, and a willingness to make difficult choices. The clock is ticking, and Europe's path forward will determine whether it remains a global leader or becomes a cautionary tale for other regions facing similar pressures. In the end, the European story is one of both caution and opportunity. The challenges are daunting, but the potential rewards for decisive, visionary action are immense. Europe's economic strength is not inevitable. It must be earned every day through innovation, resilience, and smart governance. Understanding the 6 deadly factors is the first step in shaping a future where Europe not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century. The challenges facing Europe are enormous, but they are not insurmountable. With the right policies, investments, and foresight, Europe could turn these threats into opportunities for growth and innovation. The question is whether leaders will act before it's too late. If this video gave you insight into the hidden forces shaping Europe's future, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most pressing economic issues. And let us know in the comments. Do you think Europe can bounce back? Or are these 6 deadly factors just the beginning of a much bigger crisis?